don't think anybody will listen to you. You're on.
Good.
Good evening, and welcome to the first meeting of the 2017 school year. Happy New Year to you all, and thank you all for being here this evening. And let's hope 2017 is very good to each one of us in any way that we see fit. So let's get on with our meeting. Has the meeting been posted?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any citizens that would like to speak with us? Okay, nope, all right. We've got a nice audience, but no citizens that want to speak to us. Not yet. Okay, could we please have a motion to approve the minutes from our December 6th meeting?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes from our December meeting. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay, the first item on our agenda is bright lights, and it involves students, and that's what we love. So would you like to take us into that, Jody?
I will, thank you. I want to say a couple things before this entourage comes up here. First of all, first and second row of excellence, rock stars, the kids are here, right? The students are here, past and present. I want to tell you that they're going to give you the bright lights this evening, but I'm also doubling them up with the student achievement update.
Great.
Okay, so when we
Great.
get down to discussion items, make sure we include that in this round. But I also want to say that these students, a lot of them are currently double booked right now, meaning that they have events and things that they are going to be attending as well. So many of them are going to be like presenting and making a mad dash to their next commitment. But I'll tell you that definitely Amanda Wagner, as our district AVID coordinator, will be staying. Dan Keyser will be staying. Ryan Galante will be staying as principal, and Jean Ann Morazzo as counselor at South. So they for sure will be able to engage in some discussion and question and answer. If many of the students, I'm letting you off the hook should you have to make the mad dash, all right? Those of you that can stay, we absolutely welcome, but I understand that you have multiple things going on, and we appreciate you being here. So come on up to the table and welcome.
I bet you the young guy plays football.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe he's going to Wisconsin. It is in Wisconsin. Huh?
Waukesha's home.
Oh, that's Waukesha. Duh. Boy, that looks like a Wisconsin jacket.
I just want to say, in the short time that I've been here, this has been one of the best parts of working and being a part of something that is just growing. And the more that we talk about, the more people are coming out and saying, what's this AVID about and what can we do? So I'm very excited to have the team from South and knowing that it's expanding into North next year. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to turn it over to the experts.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. We're really excited to give you a quick update on what AVID is all about and share some data with you. So first off, AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And AVID is a nationwide system. So it's not just something at South High School. Right now in Waukesha it is, but it is nationwide, results driven and proven. The mission of AVID is to close the achievement gap by preparing all students for college readiness and success in a global society. Dan Schreier, who is one of our AVID elective teachers and a phenomenal math teacher, is going to tell you a little bit about the AVID elective program because AVID has some different components to it.
So there's two big things with AVID. There's a small AVID and a big AVID. Big AVID is pushing Wicker strategies school-wide. The small AVID is the students behind us who are in an AVID elective class. In the AVID elective class, we have a group of about 25 students led by an AVID elective teacher who are working on college readiness skills. They get graded on the 5 standards, which are based on Wicker: writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. And we really try to build their skills so that they're college ready once they graduate from South High. 2 days a week, we do something called tutorials. Students come in with what's called a tutorial request form, a question from a class that they're struggling in or something they got stuck on. They get up in front of the class in a whiteboard, like you can see in the photo, and their peers ask them questions to help them through the problems that they're struggling. So their student tutors ask questions. Where did you get stuck? Why are you stuck? How can we help you? And they try to work their way through the problems.
Okay. A lot of times there's questions about how do we get AVID kids in the AVID program. We start by working collaboratively with our 8th grade partners, and the 8th grade teachers and counselors know what the AVID program is, and so we're looking for a specific type of student. That student that maybe has a 2.0 to a 3.5 GPA, a student who is typically, maybe historically underrepresented, oftentimes a student is the first student in their family to go to college, to consider going to college, or maybe a student who has some other barriers that stand in the way of academic success. So we get some data from the 8th grade teachers, MAP scores, teacher recommendations. We have an evening meeting where we invite parents and students to come to South to learn about AVID. Then students who are interested fill out an application, and then the ID, the individual determination part, is when our AVID site team members go to the middle schools and actually interview the students as to why they want to be in the AVID program. And that's how we kind of hone in on that specific AVID student.
So we heard a little bit about the elective program, and Dan said there's Big AVID and Little AVID. That was Little AVID. Big AVID is when AVID becomes school-wide, and that's happening at South High School. And how that happens is teachers are intentionally trained with some of those core strategies, the writing, the inquiry, the collaboration, the organization, and the reading. And through professional development, formally and informally, we use those strategies. For example, this year, all of our teachers learned about Cornell note-taking again, and were introduced to the concept of tutorials and content area classes. So it impacts all students, not just the 120 students who are in the AVID elective program. And most importantly, we think something that AVID does, it gives teachers and students a common language. So you can go from history class to Phi-Ed and engage in a Socratic seminar. Obviously very different topics, but the strategy is the same. The critical reading skills are also similar in those areas. And importantly, intentional notes. You hear a lot about Cornell notes being taken. Wonderful. Cornell notes are a great tool, but it is really about intentional notes. Our students knowing how to take notes and knowing how to use those notes. And you might hear from some of our graduates how important those note-taking skills are for them. So we want to share some data with you. We have had AVID at South since 2009. Since we've started to track our data, our first graduating class was 2010. 92.45% of all of our students from 2010 on have gone to college. But more importantly, 100% of those students, they leave with a post-secondary plan. And I should actually say plans, because we want our students to have a plan A, B, C, D, E, because we all know life throws curveballs, and we want them to know how to navigate and to figure out if plan A doesn't work, what should I do next? Our AP participation rates have gone up tremendously in AVID as well as school-wide. And when we look at the why, it is definitely influenced by AVID, because students are being pushed to take rigorous classes, and they're seeing their peers take these rigorous classes. So even though Jean Ann's not in AVID, my friend who is in AVID is going to take it, I'll take it too. For example, we went from, before we had AVID, we had 3 sections of AP English 11. We are up to 5. Calculus, we've gone from
25 total students in 2006, I think, and now we're at 75 in Calc 1 and 18 in Calc 2.
So that's a little bit of that big AVID. Right now for AP participation, 93% of our senior class is taking or has taken at least one AP course, and many of those students are taking multiple AP courses. The few who are not should definitely, they don't have the academic ability right now to be taking that AP class, but one of our requirements to be an AVID is to take at least one AP course. We have 71% of our 10th graders currently enrolled in an AP class, and 27% of our 9th graders. So over a quarter of our AVID 9th grade class is in the only AP class they can be in, but they're in there. And most importantly, our persistence rate. So persistence is from fall to fall. So fall of your freshman year to fall of your senior year. How many students remain in college? Nationally, 78% return their sophomore year. AVID Center nationally has 84%, and South AVID, we have 89%. We're measuring this through the best way possible that we can right now, and that's really social media, keeping up with our kids, knowing what they're doing. But these kids, we're not only fall to fall of sophomore year, these are our kids all 4 years. Like, we're trying to track them throughout. And our first graduating class, many graduated last year, and some are on that 4.5, 5-year plan, so they're graduating this year, but it's pretty neat to see them become functioning citizens with some high-paying jobs. So we're going to turn it over to our students, and they will briefly talk a little bit about how AVID has influenced them, and feel free to ask any questions that you may have of them.
So who are you, what grade you are, and how's that?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Eli Fields. I'm a freshman at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And AVID has, I'll just say AVID has changed my life in a number of different ways. Coming in as a freshman in high school, I transformed as a student. I was a lot more organized. I was more motivated. I achieved a lot more than I would have as just coming in without AVID. And it was just because I was around other individuals who had the same mindset as me, similar goals as me. So it really pushed me to be my best inside and outside the classroom, and it really helped me as a student. And then through AVID, I was actually exposed to the People program, which is a program through UW-Madison that I was in since my freshman year of high school, and it's allowed me to go to Madison with a full ride scholarship. And so without AVID and People program, I don't know where I'd be right now. So both of those programs, but AVID for sure, has given me like life-changing opportunities. So it really helped me out in my current life as a student and my future.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Anna Bangle. I am currently a freshman at Carroll University, but I have enough credits to be considered a sophomore right now. I am majoring in mathematics with a secondary education minor. From AVID, I've learned to speak out more. I'm more willing to participate in class, reach out to friends, study. Even in my notes and homework, every time I come to a problem, I stop, think about it, ask some friends if need be, and then once I figure it out, I write the steps of how I solved it on each problem, just in case I need to go back for it. Probably the biggest thing that AVID helped me do was getting to know people and coming out of my shell. When I was a freshman, I was really shy. And while grades can get you far, you need to have the social skills as well to succeed. And AVID had honed and developed those skills within me and helped me create this second family that AVID's known for. Also through AVID, I was able to have the motivation to apply for all the financial aid I need, to the point where I was able to get a refund this year for my first year in college.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm a sophomore at Waukesha South, currently enrolled in the AVID program. And I honestly think that AVID gives you so many more opportunities than you would be a normal student. Like AVID gives you opportunities to be work on like professionalism, like public speaking and stuff like that, and gives you plans for what you're gonna do, like after high school. So you do things like you practice making your like college resume to prepare for college interviews as well, and you work on like interview like one-to-one conversations where like it really helps you, and also it really, how can I say this, it helps you join clubs and gives you so many more opportunities. Like you get notified of what's going on in your community, so many more opportunities for you to get involved and enrolled in things like HAWS and community service things in the community. So it gets you involved in the community as well as involved in your school, which I think is a great help to me. Oh.
Hello, everybody. I am a sophomore. Well, my name is Alejo Nunez. I am a sophomore at South High School. I would say that AVID. I'm a new member of AVID this year, and comparing it to last year, I would say I had a pretty good freshman year, but I saw myself struggling with my organizational skills, my note-taking skills. I was pretty much all over the place, but I still made it through. But I would say now that I have the AVID program, AVID program with me, I feel more motivated to speak out in class, and I would say I feel less nervous with other peers in my classroom. And I would say my note-taking skills have gotten a lot more better than before. And now I understand my notes better. I feel like I understand the course better, and I can see my grades improving tremendously from last year. So I really do think AVID did influence me pretty good.
My name's Jordan Gigax. I'm a student at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. I unfortunately didn't have the privilege of being in AVID since a freshman in high school. I joined when I was a junior. However, it was the best 2 years of my life. On a piece of paper, I look like a stellar applicant for any college that I could possibly want in the state of Wisconsin, but AVID really gave me the ability to branch out, meet new people that I had never met before, even as a junior in high school. And it was the best support system that I could possibly ask for. I didn't have the best home life situation, so being a part of a family at school was the best way for me to find self-confidence. Through AVID, I've also been able to understand the abilities that come in a collaborative setting. So now I can go into any kind of job interview with complete confidence, and I can thank AVID for that all the time.
Hi, I'm Angelica Catalan, and I'm a senior at Waukesha South. And AVID, I've been with AVID since freshman year, and I can say that it's helped me a lot. Because of AVID, I was able to apply to the People program, and I got accepted. And I don't know, that's one of my best achievements right now. And I'm hoping to go to UW-Madison next year. I'm still waiting for them to get back to me on that. But because of AVID, I've been able to learn people skills, because I've always kind of been an individual. I like working by myself. Because of AVID, we've done a community service project where we collected stuffed animals for a native tribe 2 years ago. So that really helped me kind of come out of my shell and work with my AVID family. And then it also helped me do a mock interview, which was really weird for me because I got an interview with the principal of our school. So, but it really helped me out.
Hi, my name is Micheline Jacobs, and I am a freshman currently at UWM with the intent of going into nursing. I started AVID when I was a freshman in high school, and I have to say that it really did change my life. In middle school, even though it is middle school, how many kids really take middle school so seriously, but I really realized my true potential when I entered Avid, they made me see like what I was truly capable of doing and like who I could make myself be and like all the things that I could achieve. I would have never imagined I'd be here today compared to if I hadn't taken Avid. I can't thank Avid enough for what they've done for me, for what the teachers have done for me, and for what the students have done for me. They really have been an incredible program, and I can't wait to see what happens in the next few years with it and how people really like come together and see how everything just goes. I'm sure it's going to be more amazing than it has been for me.
Hi, my name is Rakaya Jackson. I'm a senior at Waukesha South. I've been with the AVID program since my freshman year. Like she was talking about from middle school, like I wasn't a really good student in middle school. So coming into AVID, it showed me like that I had so much potential, and like it pushed me to take AP classes, join a lot of clubs, do a lot of community service. And like I'm proud to say that I will be attending Tennessee State University next year. And like without AVID, I don't know how would I have made it that far. Like it showed me that I have so much potential. I've been getting many scholarship offers, many college offers from a lot of people, and it's just like I thank AVID for that, because without that support system, without these people, without the teachers just like being there for me, I probably wouldn't have gotten this far.
So I'm Courtney Bacchus. I am a senior at Waukesha South High School. I am also a part of the Health Academy. So next year I plan on attending UW Waukesha with a double major in radiology and sonography with a minor in pediatrics. I'm currently a CNA as well. But AVID has taught me you do not always have to be right. I was always, like above average student, taking the pre-AP classes and everything, and I'd always ridicule myself when I'd get a problem wrong, and it was awful. I'd always tear myself down. But through the tutorial process and everything, it taught me it's okay to be wrong, but let's figure out why you got it wrong and let's work through it so you get it right next time. And honestly, my grades have so much improved. It's insane. And again, AVID has pushed me further than what I ever thought I was ever capable of. And I am so grateful for AVID and everything. I said it a million times before and I'll say it again like a broken record, but I just cannot thank AVID enough for everything it has done for me and what it will do for me.
Hello, my name's Cody Hurtado, and I'm a freshman at Madison with Eli. So like most of my peers have been saying, academically, AVID's really helped me. But for me, it became more of like I got to interact with more socioeconomic groups and different cultural groups too. And that really opened my eyes up. AVID's also really motivated me just in life in general to push for like the best and not settle. So, I mean, ever since me and Eli were little, I've known him since second grade, and we've always dreamed big. And I think with the help of AVID and my peers and the teachers and just everyone at South, it's really helped me to strive for the best, and I can't thank them enough for that.
All right, questions? Okay, Mr. Baumgart.
No questions, I don't think. Amanda and Dan know that this is one of my favorites. And as board members, you're not really supposed to have favorites, so I have to put you as one of my favorites, okay? This program, I try and get over there every year once or twice, and this program has shown me in the past some of the benefits of it, but you told so many more of the things that you don't really understand. And those numbers we saw earlier, that's the first time I saw those. I thought it was happening, but to see it in reality. So I am so glad you came here to tell us how it affected you, because that's why we're doing it, and that's why we got to do it more. And you guys have helped, I hope, underscore the fact that we need to do this more than we are, and I'm going to help that happen. I hope other people will too. So thank you for sharing with us. I think it was so important that we understood some of the things that really have happened to individuals, not globally, but individually, to see that how you were impacted by this program. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mr. McCaffrey.
Yeah, definitely thanks for coming. We don't see enough of this, especially from the students. We talk to administrators a lot, and it's just great to see the students and how it affects you. I would like to also say I am very impressed with the service aspect. There can be no citizenship without service, and I think that is lost today in our schools and with our young people. So it really warms my heart to see the success that every one of you is seeing in your lives. It's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dietz?
First of all, you were all very well spoken, and I was just really impressed at what age you are. And I look back, and when I was that age, there's no way I could have done what all of you did tonight. Just amazing. And I'm learning about this program, and I'm just hearing really good things from all of you. And when you hear it from students or former students, I think it's great that former students have come back to share all this. And I understand it's going to be expanding throughout the district. That's great. Could someone just briefly explain to me, I know it's an elective course, but can you take it every single year as an elective? Or how does that work? Is it like a semester class, or is it?
It's an all-year class.
Okay, all-year class.
It's a 4-year program.
It's a
so
4-year
you apply
program.
when you are a freshman, and then you get into the program. Most people stick throughout all 4 years. Some people will decide to leave, but we've had a really great turnout, I believe. I have only seen few students leave the AVID program, and we've all been successful in one way or another because of the program, really.
So if you are in the program for 4 years, you leave with how many credits?
Yeah.
4 credits.
Yep.
Okay. 4 elective credits.
Yes.
Okay. But just incredible. I mean, the stories and also that none of you needed notes. I mean, because you were telling it from your heart and your experiences, which make it easy. So great job, and congratulations to all of you. I'm sure that each and every one of you are going to have really bright futures ahead of you. So thank you tonight for taking time out of your busy schedules to share all the successes of AVID. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I was fortunate enough to visit your class, not this year, but I visited your class, and I was so impressed because I got the impression, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that you learn best from each other. Is that right?
That's very true.
And research will say that students really do learn best from each other rather than from reading the book or through their teacher, because you just respect each other and you just learn so much better. So I think it's wonderful that you're teaching each other. Now, when you go to your AVID class, do you work on any particular area of the curriculum, or just whichever area you feel you need some help in? Could somebody answer that, please?
Well, usually how the class goes is that our teacher sees an area we need to work on. Like, for example, it's organization, and she takes that week or the following weeks to really work on us and figure out a plan for us to use. Like our AVID binders is what we call them, where we organize them and use those skills in life.
Okay, so you're really working on a system and a process, not necessarily one area of the curriculum. Is that correct?
I would say AVID is more focusing on giving us methods and resources to figure out how we can solve our problems.
Mhm.
For instance, with financial aid, organization, going out to talking to people, or solving problems, whether it's our problems of homework or problems with trying to figure out what class we should take, where should we go, and who we can reach out to.
Now, do you each go to AVID one period a day? One period a day, okay. And what does the period look like? You tell me.
Well, it's like you walk in and it's like a normal classroom setting where the teachers have fun, and we sit in groups where we collaborate.
Okay.
Like, for example, if we're working on using our analytical skills to annotate a piece of text, she gives us the text and we read it, but we annotate it and discuss it as a group. So there's a really big group part to AVID where you collaborate with one another.
Wow. Yes.
Well, the tutorials work where you have a question and you fill out this worksheet where it helps you work with the problem, and then you give that to a helper, aka a tutor, and you go in as a group where you go up front and discuss your problem, and other students around you help you, like, step-by-step process where you got stuck and what methods you should use to solve the problem.
Do you get a grade for being an AVID? Oh, you do?
Yes.
What is that grade based on?
It's based on basically student participation and how much you have improved as a learner.
How do you notate that improvement?
Well, we look at the progression as the year goes, and she sees like how much effort you've been putting in, and like if you're like communicating with the teacher, you obviously can help you grade out. But there sometimes we take like practice college tests where does Ms. Berger speak?
We also have standards. Our standards are writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. So 2 days a week in AVID, we do our tutorials, and they receive a grade for their tutorial process. And the other 2 days a week, we're doing some skill building. And that usually is centered on the WIC core methods.
Okay. Baumgart?
Do you still have, and maybe Amanda, you can tell me, do you still have a connection with Carroll College where they send some of the students over to work and let the kids understand? Oh, we got one right here.
As a graduate, I was really interested in coming back to tutor. So this fall semester, I was able to come back and tutor these lovely students. With,
You have come out of your shell, apparently.
We do some hiring of tutors from Carroll. We also have Carroll work study students who work with us.
Okay, and the point there, I think that's important to understand for listeners is, I believe that you kids get exposed to what's it like to be a college student to a certain extent, and that helps you understand what's next.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
So, go ahead.
Do any of the other alumni, do you tutor college?
I've definitely considered it. My first year, I really wanted to focus more on like my personal academics because I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to balance everything right away. Because it's definitely a learning process, trying to figure out how to manage your time. But I've definitely considered it, and I would never be opposed to coming back and doing it if they ever needed me to.
I actually talked with Miss Wagner about this over the summer. She sent me an email to a connection with somebody at La Crosse High School because La Crosse High School also does AVID. So I actually got to meet with the principal of that school. Unfortunately, they weren't hiring any new tutors at the time, but they said that they would keep my resume on file. So that's just like another way of making connections throughout the world and stuff like that. And I'm so happy that I had Miss Wagner to help me out with that because there was no way I would have been able to just go up to a principal and be like, hey, are you hiring AVID tutors? So I was really grateful for that opportunity.
Our junior and senior students, we also do cross tutoring. So once they become an 11th or 12th grader, they go down to our 9th and 10th graders and tutor those students. So it gives them a little bit of experience of how to be a tutor.
What is your system of note-taking called? I saw it, and of course, I've never taken notes like that.
Cornell Notes.
Right. And tell me a little bit about it. What are you supposed to include?
Well, yeah, let someone else talk.
Okay, so
Seen the notes?
so you have
Very interesting.
at the bottom there's a summary section. Then on the left hand side there's a little column that's for questions, and in the middle is like just like basic points. So
That you put there.
that you put there, right? And so, I mean, you don't want to write down everything the teacher's saying. So like you could figure out like if you have a question on this specific point, you could write that down in the questions, and then take a little bit of notes on it, but not completely. Figure it out there, but go back to it. And then the summary is at the end where you kind of summarize what you've learned all, and basically that's about it.
So when you're in, say for example, you're in history class, and pretty much history classes, you do take notes. You use that note system, and you do. Huh,
I mean, well, at Madison I had a horticulture class, so
Okay.
we learned about plants and cultivating
Yes.
that, and that really helped me with the questions because anatomy of plants. It was hard for me, but I went back and looked at it, and it really helped.
How are you doing at Madison? You doing fine?
Good, yeah. I have a 3.28, which, I mean,
Wonderful.
for me, my goal is a 3.5, but I didn't get there. But it gives me something to work for. But I've actually joined an organization that's much like AVID. It's called the Center for Educational Opportunities. So just like AVID with the tutorials, I meet with the group every Thursday, and we kind of have mentoring sessions with our tutors. And then, yeah, I mean, I've branched out to people. I mean, AVID gave me the confidence. I mean, I've talked to administrators at Madison, and I play basketball with one of the guys on Saturdays, so it really helps me just with networking too. So,
So do you think you would have done as well at Madison without that help in high school?
no, not at all. Without AVID, I don't think I'd be at Madison, for sure.
So then AVID helps you to study, gives you study skills, shows you how to read, how to do all the important things in studying. That's wonderful. We need programs like that at every school, Amanda, are you specially trained to teach AVID?
So all of our AVID elective teachers go to a summer institute that's run by AVID.
Okay.
And they receive the proper training to do
Okay.
that. And besides the elective teachers, we'll hopefully be sending some of our site team members. Our site team is anyone at the high school who would like to be part of the big AVID, and they work to help support the AVID program, the AVID elective program. They also have training, so if you teach history, you would go to the history path training, the math path training, etc. And those are research-based best practices for math, for history, etc.
Do all of our colleges and universities in the greater Wisconsin area provide training for AVID programs?
No.
No. Okay. Well, then where do you learn how to do that?
That's a great question. Our colleges are Wisconsin is late getting in the game of AVID.
Okay.
It's very big in California, Texas, and the southern states. We're starting to see more AVID pop up in Wisconsin. Carol has asked us to provide some information, and our tutors, once they start tutoring, if they're education students, really find it beneficial. So it's really probably we need to do some more outreach to provide them some information about what AVID is and how it all works.
So how many students did you say you admit per class? 25?
We try to stick around 25,
Okay.
but we do have some that reach 30. I think our junior class right now is at 28. Our freshman class is at 23 because we're looking to add a few. We like to start our freshman class a little bit lower and then find students who we missed from the middle schools and add them in second semester or their sophomore year.
So then would there be some students who want to get in, but there wasn't any space for them to get in? Does that happen?
Yeah, we have a waiting list right now.
Really? Oh, that's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Wow. Any other questions? Ms. Ranchek?
I just don't want you to think I didn't have anything to say. I'm just so proud of you guys. A couple of our kids are in AVID, so I just sit here and a lot of the programs that we'll talk about here throughout the year, I'll think, oh, I got to get my kids in that. But I'm just sitting here very grateful to know that they are, and that they'll have futures like yours. And just the some of the language you guys just speak, like goals. And I should have just written them down. Every time you guys would speak those words that you use, they're so powerful because it was probably just the language that you had in your class and you just used it and it's now just part of your lingo. And so I'm just so proud of you guys. So thank you. I know you're all busy, but thank you for coming here from college, some far away, some right nearby, but to just be here to tell us about this. Thank you. Your parents are probably really proud.
All right, I would like to echo what Ms. Ranichek said. We are so proud of you, and especially after my visiting your program in action one day, I just walked away feeling so excited about the fact that you were going to have a special opportunity to learn that you might not have had it not been for AVID. So I hope that you continue to keep up your involvement in AVID because I think you all realize how important it is. And you people that have gone up to Madison, I'm so proud of you, just so proud of you. To me, that's a tough school. And a lot of kids don't get in. Right? A lot of kids don't get in. So
Ditto on Carol for that, too.
Right.
I have a little soft spot for Carol, seeing that I'm an alumni. So I do have a couple questions. Do we recruit for this program, or, I mean, you talked about identifying the students. I mean, that sounds like where you actually are looking through the classes in middle school and then actually reaching out to the students?
Yes,
Or,
we reach out to students based off of some different criteria. A lot of the students are first generation college going students. So they don't have parents who know how to get into college. That's one of our big factors. Another factor that I think our biggest factor is the student has to have individual determination. AVID is not for every single person because it's stressful. There are probably times all of these students have wanted to quit and throw the binders away. But they need to have that drive, so we look for that factor. We also look for a lot of untapped potential. As most of these students said, someone pushed me to be better. They weren't all the go-getters, 4.0 students, captains of everything the day they walked into high school. They became. And it is a process. It takes our ninth grade students quite a while to reach their potential. And even some of our seniors are still reaching their potential.
and then my last question would be, is this just at South? This is not anywhere else in any of the other high schools?
Currently, we are just at South. North will be implementing next year.
Oh, wonderful.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Do you currently have any students from West or North in your program at South?
No, but we do have one student who transferred. She was in Brookfield and in Avid, and she was going to go to one of the other high schools, but chose to South because of Avid.
Wow. Says to say a lot for your program.
Great.
A lot. Well, you need to be so proud of yourself. This is such a wonderful message that you're giving us this evening. Proud of you. Any more questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Ryanchuk.
I just wanted to have a shout out for your teacher because if, let me get your name. Don't tell me. Michelene? What is it? Michelene, right. That was my note taking. Did you see that?
Like avid candidate.
You spoke about contacting Miss Wagner in the summer. Oh, no, sorry, hold on. Angelica, no. Jordan, that's right. She was hiding behind you. You spoke about contacting Ms. Wagner in the summer, so she was available for you in the summer, and you're already graduated, so she's still keeping up with you guys, and it just shows how much she cares about you. So just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. And we need to say thank you to all of our Avid elective teachers because there are 5 of us, and they all go way out of their way. I know Mr. Schreier is constantly, he got a lot of these graduates here today to speak to you, and they also came and they spoke to our current Avid students today and explained the myths and realities of college life.
Do you think that all the students at South realize what's going on in your Avid program? What do you think?
No, I think there's unfortunately a lot of misconceptions about what AVID is. I know one of the misconceptions that I had all throughout high school about AVID was that it was a glorified study hall, which is not the case whatsoever. And I really think a lot of people are missing out. I don't think they realize how wonderful of a class that it is. I mean, just from my 4 years, the people that I've grown with, the people that I've had connections with has just been an amazing experience. And a huge plus is the teacher-student connection. There truly has been one. I mean, I never was the type of student to go up, introduce myself to teachers, and ever since AVID, which was something that we really stressed, I've gone to college with lectures of 250 kids and been able to go up to my professor and be like, this is who I am, this is the kind of student I am, and without AVID, I honestly don't think that I'd be able to do that. So I do think kids are missing out on this, and honestly, anybody who bashes AVID has no idea what it's truly about.
How do you get a scholarship?
What do you...
How do you get a scholarship? You said you got a scholarship to Wisconsin.
Yeah, so one day, it was our freshman year, I think it was first semester, a couple of seniors and alumni came to talk with us about the People program. And so it kind of pushed me to, well, one, it just gave me exposure to it. I had no idea what it was before that. I had an older sister that was in college at the time, but she didn't go to UW-Madison. So I was really, when I got to high school, I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't really know how I was going to afford it at all. And so I believe that, without the People program, without the exposure and the motivation, I don't know where I would be. I definitely feel like being exposed to the People program was the biggest blessing of my life, just because it gave me the opportunity to go to college, period, but also such a wonderful college, and for my parents to be able to afford helping to send me to college with the scholarship. So I think it was kind of it was luck, but it was also just things falling in the right place. Me being motivated to, first of all, just apply, to know that I want to be a part of the People program, apply myself, and really be someone who's high achieving within the program. So I feel like all AVID students, if they just use that exposure and find those opportunities and network with different professionals, that the scholarships and different opportunities for higher education will become available to them. And it was also because I was a minority student, so some of those scholarship programs are also like similar to AVID, looking for maybe underrepresented students or minorities to be a part of their program.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Any more questions? Okay. Well, I guess we appreciate again very much you sharing all of the ins and outs of the program. We're very proud of you, and best wishes in your future education. Okay. Next we have reading recovery update.
Yes, our first presentation item this evening as we transition, we're going to have Melissa Yao and Carla Bauer-Gonzalez, I think I saw them in the back, presenting on an intervention portion of our CLM literacy model. So I will speak slowly as they transition to the mic. They're going to talk a little bit, again, about reading recovery, as this is the earliest intervention for our first graders, so they're
Yes.
going to give you some more details about this. So, thank you, Carla.
Thank you for having
Welcome.
me.
Coming.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we're officially talking about reading recovery. And again, my name is Carla Bauer-Gonzalez. I am the School District of Waukesha's lead teacher for reading recovery, which means that I monitor the goings-on of reading recovery. I teach the training class, and am basically the go-to person for anything reading recovery. I guess the first question to address is, what is reading recovery? It is an early intervention for the most struggling first grade students. It's administered by a highly trained teacher. It's a 9 postgraduate credit program to become endorsed as a reading recovery teacher. It's an evidence-based intervention that accelerates kids who are really struggling to within average range of their peers within a relatively short time, within 12 to 20 weeks of intervention. Little history on reading recovery. It was invented in 1970 in New Zealand by a developmental psychologist named Marie Clay. And she believed that there was really just a very, very small amount of children, like 2 or 3% of children, who truly had organic learning disabilities, and that many children with learning disabilities were educationally disabled. and that if we were able to intervene in the right way, at the right time, and quickly, that most of these children would be able to be recovered to a normal trajectory of development. Thus, it's called reading recovery. In 1984, Gay Sue Pinnell and Charlotte Huck brought reading recovery to the United States through Ohio State University. But by far, the most important thing that happened in the history of reading recovery happened in 2013. And that is when Larilyn Carpenter,
who's here tonight,
Waukesha's Title I coordinator, brought reading recovery to our school district. She secured $20,000 in grant money through the U.S. Department of Education innovation grants to train 3 teachers in reading recovery. So here are the first 3 of us that were trained in 1913. And then at the end of 1913, Larilyn got us some more money, about $10,000 worth of money, also through the same grant. And then I was able to get a scholarship for an additional $10,000 to train an in-house teacher leader. And I'm very fortunate to be that person. That is an 18-credit postgraduate program. So the following year, that's what I did. Then last year, we had our first in-house cohort in reading recovery training. And this year, we're in the midst of our second reading recovery training class. So with this training class, we will have reached full implementation in reading recovery in our Title I schools. I wanted to talk a little bit about the color coding. You'll see that each of the ladies has a different color frame around her face. The blue frames are for reading recovery teachers. The green frames are for those who are being endorsed in the Spanish rendition of reading recovery called Descubriendo la Lectura. And the one lone red frame is Julie Logan, and she was a literacy lessons pilot, and literacy lessons is the special education adaptation of reading recovery, and she had fantastic results. We don't have time to go into that now, but very impressive, and I'd love to share that with you sometime as well. So reading recovery is part of the Comprehensive Literacy Model, or CLM. And CLM is the mainstay of our district's literacy framework. CLM is the universal instruction that all children experience every day. It consists of reader's workshop, writer's workshop, and language workshop. But for the children, that CLM isn't enough. There's also the comprehensive intervention model, or it's also called CIM. CIM is a set of 7 interventions. Wendy Hamilton is currently coordinating the CIM effort in the school district, so there'll be more of that to come soon. And one of the CIM interventions is reading recovery. When fully implemented, about 75% of reading recovery children reach grade level by the end of their program, and about 25% of the children are recommended for further ongoing support, either through interventions or a very small amount through special education. And it's really interesting to note that other interventions have the opposite statistics, that 25% of the children reach grade level after intervention, and about 75% of them are recommended for ongoing support. And this has a really big impact on cost effectiveness, because to give one reading recovery program to a child, as opposed to having that same child be in interventions year after year after year after year, the end result is that reading recovery costs about half as much. A little bit about full implementation and what that means, and what not full implementation means. This is important. Full implementation means that reading recovery is one part of this well-orchestrated program where there's good core instruction, good interventions, in addition to reading recovery and reading recovery. What full implementation is not is this, where reading recovery is maybe a lone entity amongst a plethora of other undefined interventions, where the core instruction is also not highly defined. And in this kind of scenario, reading recovery does not work. It really has to be in tandem with the big picture. I think that we're really poised in Waukesha now because we're working on all three of these pieces at the same time. It's so exciting. A little bit of data to show you. We're really early in our implementation of reading recovery, so we don't have a lot of data to show. So this is one data set from one school. It was my school, the year that I started reading recovery at Blair at that time. And we took a look at other interventions not reading recovery as compared to reading recovery. There were 14 students in the other interventions who were at risk. And after their intervention, 3 of those 14 students were advanced into the average range of their classmate. So that's about 21% success rate. In reading recovery, there were 9 students who were performing below average, and at the end of their program, 8 of the 9 had accelerated into the average range. That's an 89% success rate. And granted, this is a very small data set. It's only one school. It's only 25 kids. But another data set, if we take a look at all of the reading recovery teachers and all of the reading recovery students in Waukesha last year, 55% of those kids reached benchmark, and that was with 8 of our teachers being in training. We know that teacher expertise and a teacher's learning curve highly impacts success, and it takes about 3 years for a reading recovery teacher to get excellent results as opposed to very good results. Some of the reasons why reading recovery works, we already talked about it being part of the comprehensive literacy model, and I want to go through some of these other things very, very quickly. The standardized literacy framework for reading recovery. The lesson has 6 parts. There is always familiar reading to increase comprehension, followed by daily assessment and running record. There's letter work to develop phonics and structural analysis. Writing for phonological awareness, phonics, and spelling. There is a cut-up sentence which fosters the connection between reading and writing. And then finally, there's a new instructional text every day. And this is really where the teacher targets the student's current goals for learning. And all of this happens in 30 minutes. It's a very rigorous intervention. Another reason why reading recovery works is because of the extensive training and ongoing PD. I already mentioned that to be endorsed as a reading recovery teacher, you have to take 9 graduate credits. After that training year, there are 6 ongoing professional development sessions. There are routine coaching visits, as well as clinical visits. And a clinical visit is that when I notice, by looking at the paperwork that all of the teachers sent to me, when I notice that a child is in trouble, I set up a visit. And I go and I see what's going on, and we develop an action plan to try and get that student back to where he or she needs to be. We're looking for a growth rate of 0.5 to 1 reading level per week. Many times children go from level 0 to level 16 during the course of their program. It's really an amazing amount of growth that can happen. I wanted to invite you to come anytime to our classes. We meet every Tuesday from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock at Blair Elementary School. I don't know if any of you have been over to Blair to see the new glass facility that's been installed there. Part of every reading recovery training session, continuing PD, are live lessons where a teacher brings her student behind a two-way glass and all of the others of us watch, observe, apply theory. It's really powerful learning, a chance to see quality teaching in action. And finally, the reason why Reading Recovery works are the accountability measures. Every Friday, every Reading Recovery teacher sends me data. And I look at that data to monitor how each student is doing. They also send me other things, assignments throughout the year for me to be able to make sure that they are continuing to maintain and grow their understanding of reading recovery methodology. And I visit each teacher after the training year probably 3 or 4 times. During the training year, it's 6 to 8 times for half-day coaching sessions. I think the most important thing about any initiative are the testimonials. So this is one of my students, and when his program was done, he sent me a card that said, "Thanks so much for all your help. I learned a lot." And his mom was thrilled, and she continues to be thrilled. This little guy's in 3rd grade now, and at the time of his program, this is what she said: "He's actually doing great. You say it's the program teacher. All I know is that before he worked with you, reading was hard, such a chore. Now he actually likes to read." And then his classroom teacher said that he made huge gains with reading strategies, comprehension, and confidence. I collect these testimonials, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. So that's it in a nutshell, Reading Recovery, and thank you for giving me the chance to come and share a little bit about it.
Well, thank you. Questions? Just trying to check.
Sorry, I have a lot. And if coming to Blair, just say that you'll see at Blair.
Okay.
But just in case anybody else has any questions, any of these questions, then maybe you could answer them. So I saw Mrs. Skrelski there, and wasn't she one of the Readers' Workshop pioneers to bring it to the district?
That I don't know.
Okay.
You might know more about that.
Well, okay, so one of my questions is, why wouldn't, so if the Readers' Workshop, so if this program is so successful, why wouldn't we implement those 6 things on the Why It Works slide? Why wouldn't we be using those every day for all kids? If you catch them and then they end up turning around, why wouldn't we just use those in the Readers' Workshop? Or are we already?
We are, and that's part of the full implementation issue. Why it's really important that reading recovery be done as part of comprehensive literacy, comprehensive intervention model, because throughout both of those, the same 6 things are done every day. And granted, somebody said to me, in reading recovery, those 6 things are done on steroids every day.
Okay.
But they are done during the regular core instruction as well. And reading recovery, like any intervention, is a double dose of the same good stuff.
Okay. Have you put your finger on how they're falling behind? Is it that, I mean, I'm sure it's different for a few of them, but is it the same 3 things?
It is very unique for every student. And when a student is at risk, and the way that we decide who to test to see how at risk they are is by administering a 6-part assessment battery. And it measures all of the different things that it could potentially be. Letter recognition, high-frequency word deficit, phonemic awareness, phonological awareness. It could be any number of things. Usually it's a combination of many different things. And what we generally find is that for many kids, it's not a lack of letter knowledge or a lack of word knowledge or a lack of any kind of specific item knowledge. What they lack is knowing what to do with all of those things to bring them together into the act of reading. And really, that's at the heart of reading recovery. We call it strategic processing. So if you hear that, that's what it means, putting all of the things that we know, all of the bits and pieces together in the act of reading.
Okay. So it's not like we're missing one of those, why it works. It's not like we're not doing one of those things, and then here comes reading recovery, and then they're all getting back. We're doing all that. We're doing it, just as you said, it's all of that on steroids, and it's specific, and it's one-on-one for a half an hour a day?
Yes.
So if they're getting almost like a double dose of that, then there's only so much time in the day, and I know all of our different areas fight for that time. What's lacking then? Is he or she not getting that math, or do you alter that so that
We
they don't-
we alter it. We set up a rotating schedule so that no child misses the same thing more than once a week. And in fact, there are 3 versions of that rotating schedule. So the rotating schedule has a 3-week rotation. And that even further minimizes the amount of the same thing that each student would miss. And we always try to avoid mini lessons at the beginning of Reader's Workshop or Writer's Workshop or Math Workshop.
And then when you say that you can pretty much catch them up anywhere, I was looking to see if it was written, was it 12 to 14 weeks you can bring them back up? Does that depend on no matter where they are? Like let's say they came in from another school and they're in 4th grade, but yet they're reading at a 1st grade level. You can pick them up between 12 and 14 weeks on any part of that spectrum? No?
Well, and reading recovery is only a 1st grade intervention.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
There is, though, a version of reading recovery or an adaptation of reading recovery called literacy lessons. And that is what one of our special ed teachers was trained in. That is not only for special ed students, it's also for older students who are reading at the 1st grade level. And yes, those kids can be caught up quite quickly also. The one little guy for the literacy lesson special ed adaptation was brought, I think he's a 3rd grader, and he was brought from a level 10 to a level 22. And he was actually able to access core instruction and become part of a classroom guided reading group after reading recovery.
Last question. Okay, the CLM, that's the Universal Literacy Model, and is that our Writers and Readers Workshop? Okay. And then the CIM, our Targeted Literacy Model, what is that?
That's our intervention model.
Okay.
So it might be struggling, so there's different, 7 different intervention models that are part of that we're working on in the district now.
And reading recovery is one of them?
One of them.
Okay, great.
Most intense.
Any other questions? Okay, I guess I do have a question. It's only for 1st graders. Do all the 1st graders that need that help get into reading recovery?
And that is another part of full implementation. At full implementation, every child that needs it would get it.
Okay.
That is not yet the case in Waukesha, but we're very close.
Okay.
We're very close.
And it lasts-
in Title I.
Okay, so it's only in Title I schools now?
Now,
Okay,
yes.
is it it's not a Title I program only, is it?
In Waukesha, it
It
is.
is, but in other places, it's,
No.
no, okay, but in Waukesha, it's in our title schools. I think we have 4 or 5 title schools.
We have all but four schools now are Title. 9 total schools
Wow.
are Title.
Do you meet with the children individually or in small groups?
It's a one-on-one.
It's a one-on-one,
intervention.
okay. And how many weeks did you say it takes for a student to make an improvement?
It usually takes between 12 and 20 weeks.
Okay.
And the more experienced the teacher is, the less time it takes, of course.
Okay. So on the day that the child receives reading recovery services, does that child also have he or she go to a reading group?
In their classroom.
in their classroom?
They should be having a guided reading group in their classroom every day or frequently, yes.
So they're really getting two modes of teaching of reading.
Yeah.
One is reading recovery, and one is regular classroom teaching.
And ideally, they're very similar. And they have the
I
same
thought so.
methodology, and the teachers are using the same language and the same strategies with the kids.
You know, when you broke it apart and told us all the different parts, I thought, wow, that's what I used to teach when I taught beginning reading. Those
Right.
very, very same things. Don't we do that with a regular reading program?
Yes, it's all built off of reading recovery.
Our reading program. Okay, interesting. Very good. And when do you identify these kids, in kindergarten, or do you wait till they come to first grade?
At the beginning of first grade, we test all
Okay.
students who at the end of kindergarten were at a level 2 or lower.
Okay.
With the 6-part assessment battery. And then we get together with a team from the school, the principal, the EC, the psychologist, anyone at the school who wants to be a part of that team. And we look at the data and prioritize based on need who should be the first 4 children to enter into this intervention. If it goes the full 20 weeks, it ends mid-February, and then an additional 4 children are
okay.
picked up. And if a child's program ends before 20 weeks, let's say that they catch up in 8 weeks, then that child's program is ended and another student is picked up immediately.
Very good. Very interesting, and it's been very successful, right? Would you say that everyone that's gone through reading recovery has been successful?
It varies. It varies by teacher expertise, by experience. It varies by where reading recovery is situated in the big scheme of things. But in cases where reading recovery is in tandem with core instruction and the teachers have 3 or 4 or 5 years of experience, success rate is high. Nationally, it's a 75% success rate.
Wow, that's great. I know it's made a big difference in reading for our first grade kids. I know it has. What do we do when we get to second grade? Should they be on grade level by that time?
They should be on grade level. What we've been doing to account for summer slide, because kids struggle in reading in first grade for a variety of reasons.
Right.
Not only academic reasons, but social reasons, economic reasons. And a lot of those things impact summer slide. And so what we like to do, if the school has the capacity, we like to put reading recovery kids into a first trimester follow-up intervention just to make sure that things are still on track and to catch anything that might happen before it happens.
So the regular classroom teacher is not doing reading recovery. We have specialists that are doing reading recovery.
Yes.
Okay, wow. And they go from building to building? No?
In a lot of school districts, that's what they do. That the district has a team of reading recovery teachers that are dispatched to the different schools depending on what the need is. So far in Waukesha, the reading recovery teacher is a building-based employee. But eventually, I think it would be great if we could have it be a team.
Just one final question. Why is reading recovery so successful? What is it doing that a regular reading program is not?
The intensity of it, first, it's a one-on-one intervention. It meets 30 minutes every day. I really think that the monitoring, accountability, fidelity, having a person like me who looks at every single child's data, who visits every single teacher to make sure that understanding is still growing, that implementation is still as it should be, to catch things before they morph and change into something different than what was originally anticipated. That's a component that a lot of interventions don't have. And I guess I think the most important thing is the philosophical base of reading recovery and how it defines reading as an integrating of all of the different things: letter awareness, word awareness, phonemic awareness, comprehension, and how those come together in the act of reading, as opposed to targeting just one of those things. It targets all of those and how a child uses those to read.
But there are some children that you don't have room for in the reading recovery program. Is that correct?
Yes, and it's especially true in the bilingual program right now.
So would you say then that we have more students at the end of first grade on grade level because of reading recovery than ever?
I think we do.
Good.
So far, it's a small data set, and it's 4 years worth of data. But 55% of the kids reached grade level.
Wow.
And that's opposed to 25% usually. Second grade interventions are less full than they have been historically. So I think that also is an indicator.
But second grade interventions aren't reading recovery?
No.
No. Okay, very good. It sounds wonderful and sounds like something every school district and every school certainly would benefit from. It's so valuable if we can bring kids up to grade level. Wow, I'm really impressed because it seems to be, but newspapers and news is always interested in our kids on grade level, our kids on grade level. And I see that that's really, really a major step in helping kids to be on grade level and be better readers, because if you can't read well, it hurts you across the curriculum.
Does,
So-
and in your life.
Well, of course,
It's a really big
Of course.
problem.
Well, any more questions or comments?
Just one.
Greg?
Carla, could you tell me, do you look at data long-term, like when kids are in 3rd or 4th grade, and see if those gains continue to maintain themselves from reading recovery, or have you looked at that at all?
We haven't, because we're in our 4th year.
Okay.
I do want to do that. That's important to do. Nationally, it has been done, and has been found that in schools where reading recovery is part of the integrated program, that kids do maintain their gains.
So what's the highest number of kids that can be in the program at one grade level or in a classroom? 5, 6?
Per teacher, it's 4.
4, okay. Okay.
And usually what happens, if the teacher is a full-time employee, the teacher will take 4 reading recovery students in half of the day, and then 3 intervention groups in the other part of the day. The 4 student limit is partly for cost effectiveness, so that the teacher is, if she has 4 reading recovery students and then 3 groups with 4 kids, her caseload would be 20 students, which is similar to a classroom teacher. Another reason for limiting it to 4 is because of the intensity of it. We didn't have a lot of time to get into what a reading recovery does once the child stands up and walks back to his classroom. But there's about 20 minutes of record keeping, data analysis, reflection, planning tomorrow's lesson, and it's very intense.
Do we have a way that we communicate with parents so that they understand their children are in this program?
Right now, what we're doing is sending out, first making a phone contact.
Okay.
Right away to introduce ourselves, to explain the program.
Okay.
And then that's followed up by a brochure that is published by the Reading Recovery Council of North America, an informational piece. And then most reading recovery teachers, it's not a requirement, and I guess I'm kind of in charge of making requirements. I think I'm thinking of making it a requirement for reading recovery teachers to contact parents once every 2 weeks. Just how is your child doing? All of us send home homework, books to read with some kind of a book log or communication notebook. Right now, the way we communicate with parents isn't standardized. That's something that I want to work on.
So students aren't necessarily getting this intervention during reading during the reading block of a grade level? No.
No, in fact, we try to avoid that.
They try-
We try
okay.
to avoid having it during reading block, math block,
Yeah, that
writing
would make
block.
sense. Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, well, I want to thank you and congratulate you. And I see Larilyn, and I know that Larilyn, had a big part of it. And she and I go back because we were both teachers at the same time, and she just always did wonderful things with reading. But this is exceptional. This is just exceptional. First of all, we're acknowledging that we have students that have difficulty in learning how to read. That, to me, is one of the most important things. My grandkids have gone to schools where they don't acknowledge that anybody in their school or at a grade level has any needs in reading, and that is not true, because every school, everywhere, has students that have special needs. So I thank you for taking that extra, most important step to help our children be more successful in reading. Thank you for your leadership.
We're very passionate about
I
it.
know you are. I can tell. So thank you very
Thank
much
you
for
for your
coming and sharing,
time.
and good luck with the continuance of that program.
Thank you.
Wow. We got so many good things going on in our district. It's just, sometimes I think it's a secret. Oh, we got Whittier here with us tonight. Hello, Whittier. Good to see you.
I'll just,
Do you want to introduce that?
you know what, I'm going to let Sharon Thede kind of set the context.
Okay.
Simply because she's come to the board in the past, given you some general overviews about PATH, and now we're going to take it down to the site level. So I'll just start with Sharon, and then she'll introduce Cynthia and Mary and the others that are here, so.
Okay.
Good evening. As Jody had said, I've been before the board prior to give updates on how we're working with mental health in schools. So this evening we have a team from Whittier to give just a little bit more detail about how we're supporting our learners in other ways within the school setting. So I will kick it over to Cynthia for introductions and to get us started.
Well, thank you. I haven't been here for a while, so it's always nice to be among friends. Tonight, I have with me a couple friends. To my left, Sharon and Laura Sharon have been working with the PATH on the bigger picture, on the partnership. So this is more about it at the school level, but they've been here before you in the past. So just wanting to acknowledge the work and the great things that have brought PATH to Waukesha. But then I have Marcia Lequen, who is a psychotherapist with Family Services of Waukesha.
Okay.
And she's going to share just the changing needs of children and what the needs in our world today are. And then my ever so right and left hand, Mary Green, Whittier's social worker. And she's going to talk a little bit more about Whittier's, the nuts and bolts of how this works at Whittier. And then I'll just wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Take it away.
Good evening, everybody. As Cynthia said, I'm Marcia Lequen, and at Family Service of Waukesha, I'm a child, adolescent, and family psychotherapist specializing in trauma and grief. And over the past several years, I've had a lot of different roles at Whittier. In fact, the whole time that Cynthia's been there, I've also been there. So I was asked tonight, like Cynthia said, to come in and just talk about the changing needs of students and the importance of having psychotherapy. So in the late 1990s, a groundbreaking study was conducted, and it was named ACEs, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And the purpose was to measure the number of extremely stressful events that can happen in a child's development years of 0 to 18. Research confirms that stressful traumatic events in childhood, especially in the formative years 0 to 8, really has a very negative impact on the developing brain, alters one's immune system, it can affect social emotional skills, and it also can impair their educational abilities. So the original and subsequent surveys set out to measure specific ACEs that occurred before age 18. They include 10 categories. They are emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, emotional and physical neglect, witnessing domestic violence, loss of a parent due to a separation or divorce, a family member incarcerated, or living with somebody with substance abuse problem or a mental illness. So the original ACEs interviewed 17,000 plus adults 18 years and older. The results were startling. The researchers found that 2 out of 3 people had experienced at least one ACEs. Research confirms a higher ACEs score increases a person's risk of poor health and social emotional problems in adulthood. For instance, an ACE score of 4 increases one's risk of cancer and heart disease in adulthood 2 times. An ACE score of 5 increases the risk of becoming an alcoholic 8 times. And then an ACE score of 6 plus can reduce your lifespan by 20 years. So now 16 plus years later, after the original ACEs study, numbers are still incredibly too high. A 2013 CDC ACEs study found nationwide almost 1/2 of children ages 0 to 17 have experienced 1+ ACEs. That's an estimated 34,825,978 children. Nearly a third of U.S. teenagers 12 to 17 report experiencing 2+ ACEs. 2011-2012 behavioral risk factor surveillance system, which is used in Wisconsin, and these are reports from Wisconsin. Approximately 58% of Wisconsin residents have experienced 1 or more ACEs, and of these, 14% report having a score of 4+ ACEs. Now, I'm not aware of any exact numbers of the Whittier students that I've worked with or that have come through family service or through the PATH program. However, of the students that I have seen and that other therapists have seen, either at the Big Yellow House or through the PATH program, the majority of the children have had ACE scores of 4+. So in an attempt to break the cycle of this intergenerational dysfunction and/or abuse, people across different professions are taking notice and working together to find solutions. The 2 professions most pertinent to all of us, mental health professionals and educators, have developed and proposed policy strategies. For example, increase accessibility to mental health professionals that are trained in trauma. And the other thing is to make sure that all schools become trauma-informed schools. So thanks to the forward thinking of several people at Family Service of Waukesha, Whittier, and the Waukesha School District, both have been actualized to achieve this one goal: increase the health and well-being of our children so they can become the wonderful little people and adults they were meant to be. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering.
Incredible. Incredible information. Incredible.
So when I came to Whittier, and I think that you all received the handout, was that in your packet? Okay. When I came to Whittier, Family Services, Jen Wimmer had already had them connected with Whittier. And I walked in with Marcia and Family Services hand in hand, and Laura. What has grown out of that is something called PATH, and Mary is going to talk a little bit about that.
PATH stands for Providing Access to Healing. When Marcia read off the list of the different types of experiences that children have, I can tell you those are experiences certainly that Whittier children have. I can only speak for Whittier children, but those are experiences that our children have. Maybe not 4 or 6 or 8, but certainly children in our school have those experiences. So we know that they're experiencing those. I want to share with you a little bit about how PATH works at Whittier, kind of how I'm involved in that. Certainly I work closely with Marcia, with a therapist who's working in the building. But to give you an idea of kind of what the school social worker does at the building to help this program be a success. So this is my 3rd year in Waukesha and my 3rd year at Whittier. Really what I do is kind of pull everything together, certainly from the beginning with recruitment, which is a lot more at the beginning of the year. We have a lot of turnover of students, and so the number of students we had in the program last year, I think we had 23 last year, we ended up with 12 that came back this year. So we're now at 21. But so I do a lot of recruitment at the beginning of the year, make a lot of contacts with parents, touch base with teachers, do the paperwork for parents, and help to set up the parent intakes with the therapists to get the children on a weekly schedule, and then just have ongoing contacts with therapists, with teachers, with parents, and then evaluation. That's something I started last year, was to have both a parent questionnaire and a teacher questionnaire. That's kind of a similar questionnaire to really take a look at evaluating what this program is doing. We had 47 different students in the PATH program over the past 4 years. It started with 6 students the year before I started, 12 students, 26 last year, and now we're at 21 this year. So we're kind of growing the program. We're pretty much at capacity right now with the therapists that we have. So struggles that we've had, I think, when we look at the need for psychotherapy and what really works with kids is having parents involved. So when you're talking about effectively making change for kids of this age, you have to involve parents. And I think, at least in the 3 years that I've been there, we really have been working hard on having the therapists be actively involved with parents, making contact with parents, and I think we're doing that. We started doing that toward the end of last year and are really doing that this year. And parents are really responding. Parents are interested, they're wanting to be involved, and they're actually making contact with the therapist directly as opposed to through me or not making contact at all. So that, to me, is very rewarding and very positive that parents are going to start making some changes, which will eventually, hopefully, have some lasting change for the students. Impact on students. Obviously, we don't want to do things that don't have positive impact on students. So, you know, the students look forward to their designated time and slot. They know what day they're seeing the therapist and what time and why she's not there on that particular day. So they see no stigma. And I know sometimes one of the reasons why people say, well, we shouldn't have mental health in schools is the stigma that students may feel because they're going to see the therapist. Our students don't feel stigma. They are happy. They are proud that they're having an appointment with Miss Amy on this day, and they tell people about it. So there really is no stigma that our students are feeling. We see them using their strategies that the therapist is teaching them. We see them showing whatever artwork the therapist has done with them, whatever necklace they've made. They are very proud of what they're doing with the therapist. Teachers are learning strategies of how to work with students because the therapist will talk with the teacher, will talk with me, we'll work together on different things. So teachers are learning as well as the students are learning. We see improved moods, improved attitudes, improved behaviors, and improved ability to just concentrate and learn because of the students are getting 45 minutes every week to talk to somebody to deal with their own issues. And the other thing I think that we see, kids who maybe would have previously gone to appointments with therapists in the community, they would be gone half a day, maybe a whole day. They're gone 45 minutes out of their class, and then they're back in class. They don't have to leave the building. The parents don't have to come and pick them up, so they don't miss a whole lot of school time. We talk about breaking down barriers, and that's really what school social workers do, is break down barriers for kids in education, for families, and school-based mental health helps families to break down barriers. The transportation, for our families, especially at Whittier, transportation, we have a fair amount of single parents trying to juggle all the different things that they have to juggle, knowing that there's a counselor at school that can see them, there's a therapist that can see them at school. Our families are happy to have their kids being seen at school. They do not see something bad or wrong. They, in fact, seek me out. So they will find out from another parent that there's a therapist at school, and then they'll seek me out. I have county workers seeking me out for their families that they know have a hard time getting to community mental health. So they're seeking me out, and other people in the community. So our program is such that other people are recognizing that we have something good going, and so they're wanting to have their clients be able to access help through us. All in all, it's been a really good program and a good success for the kids, and I think for the teachers, they see that the program helps their students, and there's buy-in from all the new teachers that we have from day one. So it's something that I think the building can be very proud of, and I'm proud of to be a part of as a social worker.
So where do you service the children?
They have their own room, so every year it's kind of changed rooms, but so they have their own office.
Should the students have their own office?
No,
The
the
therapist has their own
therapy
office.
happens
Okay.
in
And
a
the-
separate
Your
room.
in the
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
okay.
And the
Yeah.
students are called out of the room from the office.
Okay.
And then they know where the room is.
Okay, great,
So, yep.
great. Are you involved in it at Whittier?
I'm involved in sort of setting it up and the coordination and the liaison, certainly not actually doing the therapy part.
Okay.
That's the therapist from Family Service who comes in to do
Oh,
that.
okay, they come in to do it, okay. Don't the students, Cynthia, don't some of the students go to, out in Oconomowoc also?
There's, students seek a lot of, or families seek a lot of different type of therapy. Not all of our students who have therapists all use our PATH therapists. They go anywhere.
And I do help families seek help outside of school. So
Right.
if they want resources in the community or if they need hospitalization, like Rogers Hospitals in Oconomowoc.
Rogers,
So if
that's what I
they
was
need
thinking.
some kind of hospitalization or partial day treatment. So I do help parents find access to those other services too in the community.
It seems like, what a great idea to service them in the building. They don't have to.
And
waste
the
time.
way we kind of look at it, and I'm thinking about my reading recovery friends over here, is this is like tier 3 type of an intervention. You have to have a whole program in your school. You have to have that universal level that's strong, and you have to have some small groups, and you have to have meets different kids' needs, and then we have another group that receive this level inside or outside of the school. But we're specifically here talking about PATH tonight. One of the things that was in your handout, we've had just a real strong relationship with Family Services, and they meet with us with all of our new teachers at the beginning of the year and kind of explain trauma sensitive and explain those the ACE study, and that is part of understanding the student and the populations we serve. One of the things that they've helped us through a grant that was written in partnership with the School District of Waukesha and Family Services was a Greater Milwaukee Foundation grant to help build staff capacity in understanding the students that we serve. And that grant just finished up just like 3 days ago. And so now it is up to Mary and myself and my Dean of Students, Joelle, and the teachers that are there to carry this forward to not only help take care of the students, but take care of ourselves because it's pretty, when you're dealing with some of the things that Marcia was explaining, it's pretty intense.
Yes, it is.
So PATH is, again, one of many supports that we have at Whittier. We have big brothers and big sisters. We have 25 kids every year that have a big brother, big sister. There's no other school, I don't think, in Waukesha County that has anything like that. And they're Carroll kids that come, and they have to commit for 2 years with a student. Salvation Army comes with our snack packs. YMCA, we've had a partnership. So we have a number of different supports. PATH, that meet all the needs of our students, and PATH is one of those that we're just kind of shining a star on tonight. One of the things that I shared with you is this was our Whittier mission, and we haven't combined this yet. Our goal is to do that at some point. But it's our mission and kind of what trauma sensitive means to us. But this was the part that I was wanting to show you. And there's a little story that goes along with this. I got to Whittier, and it was probably sometime in July. The custodian says, "I got this banner hanging in my office. The former principal ordered it. Do you want that up?" And I said, "Well, what does it say?" And he said, "Learning for life." And I'm like, "Well, what does that mean?" And he goes, "I don't know. I didn't order it." And I said, "Well, Jill was a pretty smart woman. There had to be a reason she had that." And I said, "Oh, slap it on the building. Go ahead." So he put it out there. And it wasn't until probably 6 to 8 months of being at Whittier did I understand what this meant, and the meaning behind it. And it is about the whole child. And it is about, we are a school. Our business is teaching how to read and teaching how to do math and being inquisitive and all those important things. But they have to be ready to be able to do that. And that's what that learning for life is about. So when I look at all of you, having been in my building in the last 6 years in one capacity or another, and we've had many of these conversations. So I was glad that we could bring a couple friends here today and talk a little bit more about how PATH works and how excited we are to continue this great relationship.
Is it for all grade levels, Cynthia?
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
And are there kids that start out in first grade and stay with the program until fifth grade?
Well, we've had it for 4 years. So
okay.
The transiency of Whittier,
Yes.
I don't even know if we've had anyone.
That's in his fourth year.
There's one student. There's one student, yeah, that's in their fourth year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So certainly the mobility of students does contribute to some of the
Absolutely.
trauma, yes. I can see that. Mr. Baumgart.
Yeah, I have two questions, one for Mary, one for you, Cynthia. I'll start with you. You know I've been there a number of times, and the last time I was there just a couple weeks ago, and it was significantly different than it was in 2011, when you and I spent 2 hours and you didn't get to do a principal thing for the whole time. Last 2 weeks, it was all principal stuff, which was wonderful. Can you correlate that to the PATH program?
I can correlate it to the dedicated work in support of this district, the teachers, the families, individual student growth and changes. I can do to PATH, but I couldn't. I think that's a little too general.
Yeah, okay.
But it is, I've always told you how supported I've always felt at Whittier. And I know my teachers feel that. We all feel that. And
I felt it when I was there.
yeah. And it's a very, we are very cognizant of self-care. We talk about that a lot. And that should be in anyone's workplace or job. But when you have a job that might have different levels of stress or emotional stress about little children, that's a little different.
Thank you. Mary, I was really intrigued or impressed, I'm not sure what's the best word, in your conversation where you told us about the parents being significantly more involved in solving this issues, which almost surprised me, because would it not be the case that most of the what do they call them, ACE?
ACEs, right.
ACE experiences that the kids have been subjected to, if that's the right word, involve parents? It almost seems like contradictory that those same parents are willing to be involved in working with you, being engaged in, and I'm just confused about that. Can you maybe tell me how that works?
It's a delicate balance, definitely. And I'm thinking of a family that we worked with today that it's taken 3 years to really earn the trust of a parent, so that you can really kind of get a sense of what's going on with them. So it's definitely a delicate balance to work with parents who are having issues that result in some of those ACEs, but to get them to be able to trust you and talk with you and be willing to let a therapist kind of in with what's going on. And part of that really is the therapist and the therapist approach, and the therapist being able to continue to work with them and be patient with them and not push them. And so it's all a delicate balance. So, and sometimes it all comes together the way it's supposed to come together.
Well, that's just wonderful, because if you can bring that barrier down, I can imagine that it's going to be much more successful. But boy, that must be a tough job.
And there's different ways to bring that barrier down. When I came 6 years ago at the music programs, we would set up the chairs, we'd have the risers set up, we'd have a wonderful all-school rehearsal, and then in the evening, the risers would be empty, there would be nobody in, there would be very few people sitting there, and I couldn't believe it. That was never my experience as an elementary principal. That now we have to set up all the chairs, we have to move out the lunch tables, and that's again
great.
the music teacher having kids be engaged, or conferences. We have student-led conferences. We can do those things. PATH is tier 3, but what are those universal things that we are doing to have those parents feel connected. Because at that point, that's pretty far down the road. We want to get them at that, we want parents involved right away from the beginning.
Thank you.
How do you identify these kids? Through classroom teacher observation?
We have a student services team. Myself, Joelle, the Dean of Students, Mary, and my other Mary, Mary Nelson, our effectiveness coach. And we have an ongoing list, but we keep track of our behavior referrals. We keep track of all those things. When we find out about if parents share or children share life situations, that might be a match as well. So, I have extraordinary staff at Whittier, and Mary is definitely one of them. And she's got her radar up for everything, things I wouldn't even think of. She's like, oh, let's make that connection. So when you have all of us working like that together, it looks like you saw the other day.
But you see your school through different eyes than others have seen your school. And because of those special eyes that you have, you've done things for children that we never had before. And subsequently, these children are more successful than they've ever been. Does it mean that they overcome all of their trauma and that they're perfect? Well, none of us are. But what you are doing for those kids is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank you, Cynthia, for your leadership in doing that, and for all the wonderful people that you brought here tonight and work with you in these children in this program. This is wonderful, because we realize that if children aren't feeling comfortable, safe, et cetera, they're not going to learn.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to hear that.
Thank you.
It's cold outside.
Okay, next is an action item. Would you take us into that?
Sure, I'd like to introduce Amy Lang to the table. I think Dan's here for moral support. It's such a good lad he is. But we're looking for your approval this evening on the food science course for a science equivalency. So the UBD will be in there, and she'll show you the DPI connections for that, and hopefully seal the deal. Oh, we have, great, thank you. I'll let you introduce her. Thanks for being here.
Hi. So we're going through the process of something that DPI actually created, and just as a reminder, we went through the process with this exact same thing with principles of engineering, where you voted to include principles of engineering as a science equivalency. I believe that was 2 years ago when we came forward with that. So this is another area where DPI has recommended this same action, but this time with a food science course. And so Bridget Skelly is with me from West High School, and Bridget met with the process that you go through is that DPI actually creates a crosswalk to show the standards that this would go along with the chemistry class, to show the standards in chemistry, the standards in family and consumer science, and then what we do locally as a district to show how we would cover chemistry activities and chemistry standards in the food science course. And so what this means, if you would choose to approve it, is that it does not change anything with science graduation requirements. This would not count as a science graduation requirement. What it does, however, is allow students who take this course to achieve what we call science equivalency, which really makes it an academic elective. So it helps students who are applying for college that they could use this as an academic elective when they're applying, as opposed to just a regular elective. And it would show as a science equivalency on their transcript. So I'm going to turn it over to Bridget, who actually worked on creating this course in her former district of West Allis, and is teaching it here now for us.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So, like Amy said, my name is Bridget Skelly. I'm a family and consumer science teacher. I was at West Allis Central before I came here for 4 years, and now I've been here. This is my 3rd year. And at first I was like teaching every class that we had to offer, and now enrollment's gone up, so we've been able to incorporate some more classes. So one thing that I wanted to get to run was food science, because I love teaching it. It's really, really exciting, and so I'm really excited to tell you guys a little bit about it. I do have some notes, and I hope that doesn't seem like I'm not talking from the heart, because I am. But I just had a baby, so I was out for 9 weeks, and I just came back. So I'm like, I just didn't want to miss anything, so I just took some notes to share with you guys. So first thing was I met with the chemistry teacher, Christina Coro, at the end of last year so that we could get it approved by DPI. And so a couple of the things that we talked about was the importance of experimentation in my class, inquiry in my class, and then the use of the scientific method. So those were 3 things that we thought were really, really important to have in both chemistry and food science. So some of the units that we cover, the first one is kind of the introductory, just the science of food, and that's where we'll explore the careers in food science, what it is, the scientific evaluation, and then sensory evaluation, which is a big part of food science. Then we go into basic chemistry. We learn about energy, ions, water, organic chemistry, so the macronutrients, and that's sugar, complex carbs, lipids, and then proteins and enzymes, and that's what we're on right now. And then I'm hoping to have time to go into food microbiology, where they'd learn about fermentation and food safety. So some of the things that we've done, I just kind of touched on each of the 3 things that I talked about. In inquiry, in the introduction unit, we had students do an inquiry-based research project on any topic related to food science that they were interested in. So we started to learn a little bit about it, and then just kind of open it up to them. What do you guys want to learn about? And they did a little bit of research and presented to the class. So a couple of the things were, why do Pop Rocks pop? Was one of the things, which I thought was interesting. And then what causes brain freeze? So they had different topics like that that they kind of did their own research on. And then for experiments, we've done a ton of experiments, and I get like super jacked up about them because it's so interesting to me, the science behind food. And so the students get really jacked up about it. It's been really, really fun. I just had 3 students today in a group say, Miss Skelly, can we make this a year-long class instead? Because we're just having so much fun. So one of the experiments that we did was we learned about the functions of ingredients in cookies. So why do we put baking soda in? Why do we put flour in? Why do we put sugar in? And then to take it a step further, to kind of apply their knowledge, we said, what would happen if we took those things out? And they had to predict what would happen. And then each group took out an ingredient, and then we went around and sampled them all, and we just compared what we thought would happen with what would really happen, or what really happened. Another experiment that we did was we made homemade candy. So we learned about how temperature affects the texture of candy, and then we made caramels, fudge, like a Jolly Rancher type candy, and toffee. And then we kind of went around and we looked at what temperature each one was cooked at and how that affected the texture. So that, and it was delicious also. And then the last thing that I'm hoping to do is kind of combine scientific method inquiry and experiment, and let the students create their own science experiment that we will then perform as a class together, so that kind of they get to use what they're interested in, that's inquiry, and the scientific method to set up the experiment, and then the experiment will perform. So that's what I'm hoping to do last. And then how are they assessed? Tests, projects, experiments. And then I had an anticipated question, because I'm a teacher and we always anticipate questions. And I thought you guys might be wondering, why food science over any other science class? And I just personally think it's a fascinating subject. I have many students who have taken all the foods classes that we offer, and they're always asking, "What can we have? Can we have another foods class? Can we have another foods class?" So this offers another opportunity for them to learn more about food and cooking. And I myself struggled with science in high school, so I think if this would have been offered in my high school, it would have been a much better fit for me, because it's more of like a hands-on and easily applicable to my everyday life to learn about science in this way. Thank you.
Check.
Thank you. First of all, I thought you were one of those avid students when you came in, because you look so young. And then you said you had a baby. I'm like, what?
I have
Baby,
two
have a
babies.
baby. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
First question is, at the end with the science experiment, is that an edible science experiment?
some probably will be and some probably will not be. It'll be their choice.
Okay,
And
so-
so sometimes, like for example, when I taught it at my old school, and this is going a few years back now, they wanted to learn more about fermentation. So some groups made like root beer, and another group made like a starter for sourdough, but we didn't actually end up having enough time to make the sourdough bread. So I think it can vary from things that are edible to things that are related to food, but not necessarily something we can eat in class.
Excellent. I forgot my second question.
Okay, sorry.
If I think of it.
Baumgart.
Thank you. Very interesting. And why food science compared to some other things, it made ring a bell with me because I have 4 good cooks in my family, my wife and 2 boys and 1 girl, all excellent cooks. And when they start talking about something went wrong because they forgot this or put this in or too much of that, and you hit it, that, you know, they're talking about what's happening in those ingredients. And I think that would be fascinating to understand that. I have to listen to it, but I don't understand it. But it always ends up good. But I do have a question, and maybe more for Amy than you, I'm not sure, but I appreciate the effort you put into this. It's obviously, you love it. Amy, financial impact, are we able to do this at all of the schools? Do we have the staff available to do this at all the schools?
Yes, it would be adding another course, just through course selection if the students sign up for it. And so we actually, when we added this course in and it was approved 2 or 3 years ago maybe, it replaced a different course, Worldwide Cuisine. So we took one out, added one in, and so there's no financial
So we're
impact.
really just dealing with the credit related, that's the wrong word.
Yes.
But the credit related to the course that's there?
Correct.
Okay, that helps.
The course was approved and is there. It's just allowing it to count for science equivalency.
And we talked about that at didn't you present that as an idea at a previous meeting? No.
The food science?
Yeah.
No.
This is the first time? But
Yes.
we're going to act on it anyway.
Principles of engineering we talked about,
That's right.
but not this one.
Because this is that connection with, what you called it, the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And by the way, I'm going to move for approval of this.
Okay.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we approve the science course, food services as science. Any discussion, questions?
Thank you.
Second question.
So thank you. It wasn't a question. That's why I got stuck. It was a suggestion. So at our house, our kids love to cook, but they also grab the ingredients from the garden and then they bring it in. And so maybe you could tie in. You have some growing beds that were donated from Pialis, I believe, and Aaron started that type of a kind of gardening thing. But maybe they could grow some like ingredients for salsa, and then they could test different salsas and stuff like that. Because taking it from the growing to the table is, I mean, something our kids just aren't doing these days unless they're provided that. Sometimes they don't have a garden at home, or they're in an apartment and they don't have that space. My son might be a food scientist. Our aunt is, and she always sends him all these magazines. She was at Kraft and Oscar Mayer and now Sara Lee, and she just retired. And we got to be her test for the macaroni and cheese that she developed and stuff like that. But she actually helped develop NutraSweet. She was one of 5 scientists that developed NutraSweet. Like, they created it, and they were on this news thing, and it was really old. But anyway, to have my kids in the kitchen, and I mean, they're learning math. Again, they're learning science, and sometimes when they want to add certain things, and I'm just like, that is not going to work, but they have to try it because they're going to grow up someday and be on their own and eat something other than ramen noodles. So they need this. Right. So thank you for providing this and making learning fun.
Any further questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the food science course for science equivalency, respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
you.
Thank you very, very much.
Oh, I just want to make a quick comment, because I've never been to one of these, so I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I believe in giving thanks where thanks are due, so I just want to thank you guys for all the work that you do, because coming from West Dallas to here, I just love working for the school district of Waukesha. I think it's an amazing place to work. And my husband and I have 2 kids, and we just moved here so that our kids could be a part of this school
Great.
district.
Awesome.
So thank
Great.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is an information item, Seeks Focus. Jody, would you like to introduce that, please?
So I
Joe's
will
gonna do
take
that.
that. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, we presented the idea that we were going to work with Jen Townsend through the Elmbrook Consortium on social emotional thinking and the knowledge and skills associated with it. Patty Hovell is here to present an update on our work with this in the district. As you heard earlier, both talking about literacy and talking about the PATH program at Whittier, what we're looking to do is to address the universal level for all of our students, and that's some of the work that's Jen Townsend's work is with us. So, Patty, if you could take it away.
Sure. SEEKS is an acronym. It stands for Social Emotional Engagement, Knowledge, and Skills. And it's the framework that we're using in our district to address the social and emotional needs of students. In the fall of 2015, 6 of our schools came forward interested in implementing the process, and they went through the self-reflection, coaching, and appreciative inquiry practices with our consultant, Jen Townsend. Their teachers found that they were developing an awareness of the small but really significant changes that they could make in their teaching practices that impact student connectedness and participation in their education and success. In the fall of 2016, those schools have continued in their second year, refining their practices to suit their building needs. And Prairie School also joined the group. They have gone through the staff survey and some staff development on environmental supports for student connectedness in their environment. And during this coming second semester, 2 more elementary schools will begin the consultation process, and it's possible that 2 more of our middle schools will be as well. They've appreciated Jen's consultation work with specific students and realized that they could now be ready for that piece. Each building has found a way to take the foundational information on SEEKS and make it suit their building goals. Blair School, for example, does the teacher survey each fall. They focus on the early grade levels to address engagement. Summit View is incorporating the SEEKS language into their PBIS structures, their positive behavioral intervention supports. Butler Middle School uses the appreciative inquiry process in their instructional coaching between the coaches and staff. And South High School is using their co-teaching staff, the special education and general education teachers that work together. They're using the SEEKS model in their planning and their collaboration, and they have submitted to present at a conference this spring on their success. Really the intention of the SEEKS approach and how we are doing a slow build with it is to build teacher awareness and strength over time so we have a sustainable and a reliable focus on serving students' learning needs with attention to their social and emotional growth. Do you have any questions for me?
How similar is this to that, a program that Whittier is doing? Because I see that's another, social emotional thing, and it sounds like this is also another one. Is this in high school or elementary school?
The schools that are participating are across the board. We have some middle schools, high schools, and elementary schools. And it's really a team of teachers have come together, been coached by Jen Townsend on how to observe and appreciatively inquire with each other on their performance. They videotape their teaching practices. So it's really not about an individual student. It's about a teacher being self-evaluative and making some changes in how they approach their interactions with students, the makeup of their classroom, the predictability of the day, so that students know who to go to, where to go to, how things function, how their day should look each day.
Do these people meet with students individually?
No, it's...
If I may interject, the program that was presented earlier is therapy. It's no different than going to a clinic and seeing a psychologist
right.
or a psychiatrist.
Right.
This program is this would be similar to providing teachers with tools to teach math, providing
Okay.
teachers with tools to teach reading. This is to provide teachers tools so that they can meet the social and emotional needs of the kids in their
Okay.
class.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And where is this program right now?
What schools is it in?
Yeah.
Right now, we have Summit View, Blair, Prairie, Butler Middle School, South High School. Starting second semester, Whittier and Lowell
Wow,
are engaging in it.
a lot of schools. So you would say then, Joe, that this is more of a teacher thing?
This is to assist teachers to meet the
Assist
needs of their
teachers,
kids. Yes.
Very good. Wow. Any questions or comments? Karen?
Joel, didn't you say to me once that this helps teachers recognize that they never know what happened at home before the kids got to school, and maybe something tragic happened, and the child is not saying it and not mentioning it, but they're coming to school and they're sitting down, and it's keeping that in the back of your mind and thinking, just being sensitive to the needs that could be there, and so that you don't you're preventing those outbreaks, you're preventing those the learning stopping. Can you explain it better?
Yeah, so this is a component to that. What you're speaking to is a little bit about what Cynthia was talking about earlier with the trauma-informed care, the safe and supportive school. This is a layer to that. It's to help our teachers meet that broad range of kids that they have in their classroom. You may have a kid who is coming to school who was exposed to a traumatic event in the morning, and they're presenting a certain way. This does help the teacher stop, pause, and reflect on how they're going to approach their kid. But this also is designed to help, for instance, a student who has autism, who may be coming to school as nonverbal, helping the teacher plan around that particular student so that they can meet the broad range of kids that they have in their class. So really, I mean, in all of our efforts, when you hear literacy presented, when you hear math presented, what we're trying to do is give teachers as many tools as we can to meet the broad range of kids in their class. What you're hearing presented tonight is how we're presenting as many tools to our teachers so that they can meet a broad range of kids in their class, to not just address the academic end of things, but also the social and emotional piece, those foundational pieces that we must touch on in order for our kids to be ready to learn.
I like that you said they must, because they must. And I'm not so sure that everybody recognizes they must. And yes,
This is the second year? We're just starting the
Yes.
second year of this program. How many teachers are trained?
The core team in each building varies. It could be 5, 6, 4.
So it's not every teacher in the buildings that we're currently programming?
Correct. Starting out with a small group who get the specific coaching training from Jen Townsend, and then teachers who volunteer to be a little self-analytical and be observed and go through the process, learn a little bit more about themselves and what they can do to tweak their teaching style to better address those individual needs of students. 10 teachers this year, 20 teachers the next year, over the course of time, building across the staff in a building.
It's because it sounds like valuable training, so it sounds like this should be something that every teacher has.
We did provide a foundational overview to about 180 teachers last year. The special ed staff in the district did get this over a 3-night presentation, 2-hour sessions. So they have gotten this. And additionally, we trained about 40 staff members in this last August. So there has been a large number of staff and representative from all of our buildings.
Right, because it seems valuable. It seems something that every teacher and student would benefit from. And what's the timeline on rolling it out to all schools? Do we have, like I said, it sounds like something that every student and teacher would benefit from.
Yeah, we don't have an exact timeline on making sure that it's in all places because it is something, you have to have a lot of buy-in from the staff. And so when we've done this, we've tried to take a slower implementation approach to it because if we're coming in and saying you must be trained and you must implement, we're going to get a level of resistance to this type of professional development versus if people see it work, become part of the conversation, then they're taking that on themselves. And we're seeing a lot of growth in schools that have used that approach.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Is it a one-time training and then it's done, or is there ongoing?
Ongoing. It really builds throughout the year. The self-survey that staff take is looking at your own awareness, your own knowledge base around engagement, representation of curriculum, and student expression. And you self-evaluate at the end of the year again, and you work on building your skills toward a higher level.
What would you say is one outcome that you've noticed as a result of being engaged in this?
Well, I wish Amanda Wagner were still in the room, because my understanding is that the South team of co-teaching staff is doing a beautiful job and really having an impact on
Great.
student comfort, engagement,
Great.
participation.
Great, that's wonderful. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate, all the efforts that we're making to help kids social emotionally, because it's a big part of education. Thank you. Okay, the next item we have is Student Services Professional Development.
Jason Gahan is here tonight to talk a little bit about the professional development series that has been designed for our special educators. If you do remember back a couple of years, we've talked about making sure that we can provide professional development that is in time for staff as they need it, but that also falls under that TDP format so that people can still earn credit. So with that, I'll pass it over to Jason.
So we've been hearing about a lot of professional development, whether that's reading or socio-emotional development opportunities for our students. And in an effort to continue to grow that and to provide teachers with the information and the skills and the discussion and the knowledge that they need when they need it, we continue to offer the professional development series that we've reported out. I believe this is the third update over the course of the last year. Started in fall of 2015 last year. Really starting with some of the nuts and the bolts, the foundational pieces of what special education staff, some of the day-to-day requirements, foundational pieces, legal aspects, a little bit into best practices. We really are proud of our expansion of that this year. We continue to offer those annual needs, those updates, those best practices, those legal updates, but some of the expansional points this year are into behavioral strategies, into autism, inclusion and co-teaching, areas of interest and need expressed by our teaching staff that we're really excited to start to dig into in the upcoming weeks ahead. Inclusion and co-teaching, we'll have a 3-part series offered on each of them. Will be offered for credits for staff who need credits. All of our offerings continue to be between either 3:30 and 5:30 or 4 and 6 o'clock in the evenings. We continue to have great attendance, averaging anywhere from 7 to 30 people in attendance for each of our offerings. And thus far this year, as I indicated, our attendance is hovering right around 260 staff, and we're about midway through the school year. So one area I wanted to highlight tonight is our new offering this school year, and that's a 4-part series for our paraprofessional staff. We've recognized that in past years, paraprofessional staff work with some challenging situations and events from day to day, and we've recognized that we really need to provide them the offerings, the skills, and the professional development opportunities that they've been asking for. So we conducted a survey last summer and took the 4 highest requested topics and developed those into a 4-part series. Those have started, and the last 3 are upcoming, so we're excited about those as well.
You have a nice list here, too. I've noticed topics for in-services. Very good.
One of the things that, again, we're trying to catch, there are compliance pieces to special ed that are extremely important, but they're not so much fun. We didn't want to offer a TDP type course for those because, 6-8 hours on IEP compliance, when we could condense that to 2, we find that our staff is finding that more beneficial. And as a result of that, we're finding fewer and fewer compliance type errors out of our staff. We do quite a bit of hiring every year. We have our turnover. We bring staff in from other districts that are used to doing things a certain way. Sure. We also bring our brand new staff in from the university that they've got the theory, they don't have the practice, and we aim to try to fill that gap for them.
Right, very good. Mr. Baumgart.
Jason, when you use the term paraprofessionals, are you talking about like the aides and stuff, or?
Correct.
Okay. Do volunteers ever get involved in this stuff?
We do not have volunteers working on a regular basis with students with disabilities.
Okay, that makes sense,
The
yeah.
students with disabilities are provided an intervention by a paraprofessional that has a license through the DPI or by a special education teacher who's obviously a licensed teacher.
Thank you.
Great.
Just a comment, I think it's great that we're including the paraprofessionals because I think they're very important to the classroom and to the well-being of the children.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, next one is health course.
Right, I'd just like to personally apologize to Amy Lang because I didn't put you up on the first information item when you were back-to-back with action items, so I just had that epiphany this evening, so I appreciate, so just self-confession on that. So Amy, thank you for being here. I owe you the extra couple minutes here. I'll take it away.
Okay. When we were looking at the courses in the Health Academy and the requirements for students who participate in that, one of the things that had come up over the course of time is allowing students more options and the fact that they were overloaded with course requests or course requirements and room to take other options. And as we looked at that and heard some talk about overlap, we started looking at the health course. Which is normally offered in grade 9 and is a separate semester course that's required. We found that much of the detail in the health education course was also being taught within the Health Academy classes. And so we sat down this summer and really looked at what's in the health course, what's in Health Academy, what are we already teaching, where is there overlap, could we combine this? And so we did the process, or we went through the process of doing that. So I worked with the teacher, Jordan Leiter, who was planning on being here and whose daughter had to have surgery today. And so, but what we did is we went through the health education course syllabus, took all of the topics in there, and from what was included in your packet, everything that's in red are the pieces that are taught there. And then what we did is we identified where in the Health Academy that was already being taught or where we could add it in. I think that really we found without too much effort, I want to estimate that probably 80% of what was taught in health, they were already covering within Health Academy courses. Unfortunately, it's not seamless, it's not all in one course in and of itself, but what we did is we took then where it was in red, and you can see some is Academy 2, some is Academy 3, some is Academy 4. So then on the UBDs for Academy 2 and 4, and then Academy 3, we this year for the first time have combined what we previously called Customer in Healthcare and a leadership course. We combined that into professionalism in healthcare. So it wasn't a new course, but we have 2 teachers co-teaching that and are trying that as a new thing this year, again, in the effort to free up the schedules of students in the Health Academy. So that freed up a semester by putting those 2 together. So I apologize that that's not in the UBD format, but what the teachers did is they combined the UBDs of both classes and started working off of this as a working document for themselves. But then what I did is I took what was in red from the health education syllabus, put it in red for both academies 2, or for all of the classes, academies 2, 3, and 4, to show where it's now being taught or where it was already being taught in most cases and how we're doing that. So we felt that in going through this that we have covered everything that is being covered in the health course. We took this to the governance board of the Health Academy, and they approved it both through their curriculum committee and then their full governance board. So we wanted to make you aware that we were doing this. They are getting the health requirements as required by the state. We're just providing that in a different outlet. And this will take place starting with next year's freshmen.
Okay.
Because this year's freshmen would already have
Right.
health. And so it will be with the current 8th graders coming into the Health Academy. And it was determined from the governance board also that if a student would drop out of the Health Academy and not see it through the 4 years, that they would then have to add in health to their course selection to pick that up if they did not get it through the academy this way.
Right.
So if they dropped out as a junior, they would still have to pick up the health course.
Okay. Questions? This was a lot of work during the summer. Thank you. You always have such interesting things to share with us on behalf of student learning.
Thank you. I am a facilitator. I don't come up with this, so.
It's very succinct. Clever way to keep the kids in the class, in the academy, too.
Right, and it's helpful for them, number one, that you don't get kids coming in and say, well, I already learned this.
Right.
And number two, it gives them that flexibility to now open up another semester that they can take a different elective of their choice.
How many students do we have in the Health Academy?
I think I want to say between 170 or close to 200, I believe.
Wow.
Somewhere around there.
And are some students from West and some from North? Or are
I
they-
believe they have some, yes.
Thank you again, Amy.
Wait a minute, I got a question.
Yes.
I know part of this discussion previously that I was involved in also included FIED. Where are they sitting with that?
They have dropped that.
They've
They're-
dropped,
Right, or they are not looking at that
They left it
potentially
alone.
anymore. They left it alone. So all of FIED will still be required for Health Academy students.
that's,
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much. So, we covered the student achievement update when we talked with the AVID kids. Good agenda tonight. Again, highlighting a lot of the very, very important things we're doing to enhance student learning and make us such a great school district that we are. This brings us to the end of our meeting. The date of the next Teaching and Learning Committee meeting will be Tuesday, February 7th, 6 o'clock, in the Lindholm Board meeting. The meeting is adjourned.